Good day, folks. Lots of stuff obviously happening in our region. I find that a lot of people, the old Chettarati like Sanjay Baru has a report in Times of India, talks about that. While China and Russia understand India Anglosphere doesn't understand get India, or something to that ridiculous flavor. It makes no sense. He's outdated. He's done and dusted. It really, really makes no sense. Everybody gets India at this point of time. And India's got to take whatever it can get. Huh? It's not an Anglosphere, but it's still English speaking, Mr. Baru. And China continues to be under the pump, whether it's here, Taliban continues to be under the pump, Pakistan continues to be under the pump. The other point issue is that people continue to view India in the North India context, right? They don't even go to Bengal and the trauma of that partition. It's all the worries about what happened in the West. So everybody comes out, but India's thing is on the West and Eastern border. But hey, those are gone, sir. It's gone. I think you should just get up and have some coffee. This is a new age, and just remember, bulk of the big empires or strong empires are ones with big navies, not one with big land armies. But land armies need a huge amount of investment. So you just gotta make sure that you got enough wherewithal to hold a great defensive position as far as China is concerned. You don't need to win against China. You just need to keep messaging them and not allowing them to get away like they were in the past. Okay. What do we have here, right? For India, observation system LOROS to be enhanced at China-Pakistan border. So we continue our build-up. Exported 38,000 crore worth defense equipment in 7 years, says Rajnath. That's interesting. And if we do become part of a supply chain, especially if you get some big US platforms, I think we can double this in less than 2 years. Then we have FDI inflows jump by 90% in Q1 this year, says Goyal. Unfortunately, bulk of that inflow is not greenfield projects and not doing very much for the economy, not doing very much for employment. However, it does a lot. It sends a message. Modi and Biden cement plans to jointly monitor space objects. And this is an agreement called the SSA, and important. We may have missed it. I'm going to be talking about it in my section about technology, right? Goyal proposes 1 trillion target for India-US trade. Well, it is a target, can be achieved. But what we have to do is get rid of outfits like the RSS. RSS-linked outfits not against MNC. Give me a break. You call Amazon, the East India Company, at the behest probably of Reliance. You go after Infosys, and then you say, hey, we are not against MNCs. Prehistoric beasts, folks, and we ain't going to get to that 1 trillion unless we shut these guys up. Goyal, trade deals will up investment, says exports. That's a no-brainer. Absolutely will. Reliance continues to shape our geostrategic interest very well. RIL backs Aramco's chairman as independent director, and so do I. Okay, but here we have a nailing of Pakistan. US Senate bill seeks sanction against Taliban government enablers, and they've named Pakistan in that. Legislators in US Senate seek report on Pakistan's role in Taliban offensive. It's all out there. Blinken is trying to cover up, but he's not going to be able to blink this away. Taliban reach out to India over resumption of flights and scholarships. India should step up. Figure out a way how to get these Afghans who have Indian scholarships back to India without opening up the flights to Afghanistan. Drug cartel held over Afghanistan heroin haul, and this is 21,000 crores was seized from Mundra port. I figure Mundra port is corrupt. Go after Adani. It has to be on the top. Without being on the top, you can't have 21,000 crores, folks. US senators seek report on Pakistan role in Afghanistan. Bill demands assessment on Islamabad support of Taliban in Panjshir. Suggests sanctions. Hold talks on ISI Taliban ties being behind closed doors. Pentagon, but Pakistan is running around. We find all such references consistent with the spirit of Pakistan-US cooperation. What US cooperation, Imran Khan? Right? US senators introduce bill to impose sanctions on Taliban. Indian abducted in Kabul is freed after 2 weeks. India is set to take part in SCO anti-terror exercise in Pakistan. That's an interesting thing, right? What are the other things we got to watch out for? Ex-Foreign Minister Fumio Kishida set to become new Japan PM. Watch Tunisia. She's Tunisia's first woman PM but has no government experience. So Maghreb is actually very critical to us because of raw materials like phosphates first. Cheers. Watch this space and cheers. So, folks, back from US to EU, ASEAN to Pacific, challenges and opportunities for Quad, as says Rajiv Bhatia. First, India-US ties received a boost during External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar's discussion in Washington in May. His meeting with the Director of the National Intelligence of Avril Haines underlined the significance of intelligence-related cooperation in countering terrorism, the dynamic in Afghanistan after the US troop withdrawal, and China's aggressive postures in Eastern Ladakh and Indian Ocean. Second, the European dimension in the geopolitical matrix has assumed special significance. Leading European countries, France, Germany, and United Kingdom and Netherlands, have been working on the Indo-Pacific policies. This was followed by the European Union announcing its Indo-Pacific strategy in April. The EU is set to reinforce its strategic focus, presence, and action in the region based on the promotion of democracy, rule of law, human rights, and freedom of navigation. Third, the ASEAN dimension represents Quad's vulnerability. ASEAN nations have been largely silent on Quad's assertiveness, while China's continuing aggression is ignored. A major ASEAN grievance is the Joe Biden administration's delay in connecting with ASEAN capitals at the highest levels. Another is Quad's relative silence on Myanmar, even as ASEAN's mediation has received support from China. Four, the Pacific dimensions goes beyond the US, working with Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines to enhance maritime security coordination concerning China. It relates to a promising turn for Quad. First, despite hostilities towards Russia, the US administration needs to initiate rapprochement with Moscow, which it has done. Second, Quad's conflict with China is not only about maritime security and rule of law, but about economy and technology, and comprehensive plan is necessary for both facets. And folks, we got that in ACES at the in-person meeting in the United States, folks. Cheers. So a lot of action has been taking place with the European Union, right, and Britain, right, in the last year or so, right, despite the COVID. And let's see what we have here. You had a situation, the EU stands with India in times of need, says Ursula von der Leyen. Out of the pandemic, we need to forge stronger global solidarity beyond our determination to beat the coronavirus. EU and India are like-minded partners. We must work together to shape the global agenda. And they've also taken on the Indo-Pacific as one of their priorities. And then you have the Quad. Quad, in this particular meeting, grouping explores partnership with the European Union. India emphasized international law in Quad joint statement. India, EU to resume talks on FTA investment pact. This is the most critical part of it, folks. No matter whether it's the United States, European Union, British, Japan, the FTA is critical. India, US, EU connectivity plan to take off with BIMSTEC members. Decision part of initiative for third countries and regions including Africa, Central Asia and Indo-Pacific. The ambitious air, land and sea connectivity master plan is the outcome of more than a decade of consultations among member states. Another very important cog in the wheel that India is putting out there. India, EU announced connectivity partnership to checkmate China. India's first such initiative with foreign partner may provide an alternative to neighbors BRI. India, EU to conclude investment trade pacts simultaneously, says Goyal, and that was very important. For France, we ran into AUKUS, right? And we are again the concentric circle, the center of the concentric circles that can hopefully help bridge the gap between Australia and the United States. India, France to strengthen Indo-Pacific partnership. We are united in our vision of importance of maintaining a free, open Indo-Pacific FS. But this is where, and this was happening earlier, right before this forecast. Indo-Australia, France discussed ties. Foreign secretaries of India, Australia and France co-chaired the first senior official trilateral dialogue on Wednesday with the focus on enhancing cooperation in the Indo-Pacific and strengthening multilateralism. This is obviously before the AUKUS. India, Australia and Indonesia are also set to hold 2 virtual meetings in their foreign and defense ministers to bolster regional cooperation and maritime security in the Indo-Pacific in the coming weeks. Indonesia, as I told you, is extremely critical to get them on our side. The focus of the dialogue was on enhancing cooperation in the Indo-Pacific region and statement and adding cooperation on the marine global commons and potential areas for practical cooperation at the trilateral and regional levels were also discussed, right? Then you have that step up pressure on Xi, bring France into the Quad, says Claude RP. At the same time, the world is fast becoming aware of the constant double standards in Chinese propaganda, and for the first time it is taking steps to counter Beijing's moves. The Sydney Morning Herald reported the coronavirus has catalyzed European concerns over Chinese government actions in Hong Kong, the treatment of Uyghurs in Xinjiang, military incursions into the South China Sea, and political interference. In the past, Paris was often reluctant to offend China as it was doing business with Beijing. But things are changing, but not changing fast enough. It sounds like the US Secretary of State's definition, whether France joins or not, there is no doubt all these new collaborative efforts should be credited to President Xi and his reckless foreign policy. One more loss in his balance sheet. But France is still not jumped, right? And then you have what India did. India sends vessel to locate Indonesian submarine, which was very critical. In the Indo-Pacific, as you talk about it, Indo-Pacific stability, security, key for world. This is South Korean Defense Minister Su Wok. So South Korea is on the bandwagon. But this is the Quad's mission, like I said. It's ASEAN's worried about. Grouping position on Myanmar coup belies its objectives. India must push to open its ears to Myanmar people, and that, folks, is extremely critical. As is when you do this, you say French naval exercise Lipa Rousse. India joins to make it full Quad. The Financial Express noted. It says in the first time that Indian warship shall be participating in La Perouse exercise, and that is now complete the Quad's forced representation in the French-led naval exercise. Previously in 2019, La Perouse exercise saw the participation of the US, Japanese and Australian showcase the common goal maritime security in the Indian Ocean and Asia-Pacific region. During the exercise, the US, Japan and Australia had deployed destroyers, frigates, submarines as part of the French aircraft carrier task group. So, folks, the French got to come back in, right? That's obvious. India can play a key role. Cheers. So as India-EU announced launch of talks on 3 trade pacts, you have Harsh Pant, right? Can India and the EU operationalize their natural partnership? He says, today's changed circumstances provide the two sides with a new set of opportunities to move forward on the long-stalled agenda. The EU wants to pivot away from China. It recently signed a comprehensive agreement on investment with China, which has drawn a lot of flack, and its ratification has now been suspended because of diplomatic tensions. The European Parliament remains overwhelmingly opposed to this deal after China imposed sanctions on some of its members in response to the EU imposing sanctions against China for its treatment of the Uyghur Muslim minority in the Xinjiang region. He says the EU is being forced to reckon with geopolitical implications of its foreign policy imperatives, and India is looking for substantive partnership with like-minded nations to bring stability to the Indo-Pacific theater. The other issue is the United Kingdom. After Brexit, it's a standalone entity, right? Unfortunately for us, it keeps putting its foot in the mouth as far as the relationship with India is concerned, because it continues to view it through colonialism and through the prism of the Pakistan army. What is Raja Mohan write? He says, Delhi to London, a reconnection. He says, while few Western powers are as deeply connected to India as Britain, both have found it hard to move on from entrenched prejudices of the past. He says, Delhi and London are set to be exploring an agreement on migration and mobility to facilitate the legal movement of Indians into Britain. Both sides are committed to finding common ground on climate change as they deepen their bilateral partnership and expand regional and international cooperation. Delhi and London may find it easier to manage the irritations over Pakistan and South Asia diaspora politics in Britain. If Modi and Johnson succeed in laying down mutually beneficial terms of endearment, future Labour governments might be less tempted to undermine the partnership. Labour folks and the Pakistani diaspora, the bitter legacies of the partition and Britain's perceived tilt to Pakistan have long complicated the engagement between Delhi and London, as has been the reaction to the collaboration, UK-India collaboration at heart of vaccine miracle. So what happened, man? It's their vaccine, and they're playing truant. Really funny. Eyeing PIO votes, Labour members say UK shouldn't interfere in Indian politics. So finally Labour's getting there, right? India likely to propose transnational solar grid at upcoming COP26, One Sun, One World, and the UK is going to join in. UK PM announces new 1 billion trade deal with India. It's only going to materialize if it stops acting stupid and foolish as far as things like what is done with the vaccine. India to take back illegal migrants from UK in return for pro visas. This is a time, and look at the truck driver shortage shows exactly how well Indian mobility can help the United Kingdom. PM announces enhanced trade partnership FTA. This is with Boris Johnson. India, UK to reduce trade barriers in food, medical devices. UK IBC. No milk or water. UK shoppers face shortage at grocery stores because of truck drivers. Because folks of truck drivers. Another important thing. UK to open a fisheries business for more Indian players. This is again an important outcome of an FTA with the United Kingdom. Jai Hind.